and welcome to On the Ledge podcast. I'm your host, Jane Perrone, and if you're looking for planty information and chat, you're in the right place. Earlier this month, I was at the Malvern Spring Show in Malvern in Worcestershire here in the UK, and I was delighted to be part of the very first Houseplant Festival organised by Green Rooms Market, which has recently been taken over by Sarah Gerrard-Jones, the plant rescuer, who you may remember from her interviews on this very podcast, and also Ian Morrison from the plant fertiliser brand Liquid Gold Leaf. Now, they are doing exciting things with Green Rooms Market, and that includes this Houseplant Festival. So this was in a building at the Malvern Show and brought together loads of wonderful houseplant sellers, plus talks, plus workshops. It was a cornucopia for any houseplant lover. And I was very glad to be there, hosting the main stage on the Saturday and Sunday of the show, and also doing a talk about my book, Legends of the Leaf. Plus, I recorded a podcast with the legends that are Ben Newell, aka Worcester Terrariums, and Jonny Balchandani, better known as the Bearded Plantaholic. And today you're going to hear a recording of that live podcast. Very, very slight warning. There are no swear words in here. However, there is a plant name which sounds a bit rude. So if you're not sure about whether you want to hear that, it sounds rude, but it's just a plant name. So I'll put a list of the plant names that we talk about, or we do a little quiz with, in the show notes. So if you're not sure if you want young ears to hear that, then do go and check out the name first in the show notes. But I would encourage you to listen because it's awfully fun and includes questions from the audience. So it's a very entertaining half hour or so of live podcasting. And also go and check out the show notes for more information about Green Rooms Market. If you've never heard of the Malvern Show before, it's a wonderful show set in the beautiful countryside of Worcestershire. I highly recommend going if you haven't been before. It was my first time, and it's an outdoor garden show, but there is now this houseplant element, which I thought was a really great addition to the show. I'll put a link in there so you can find out more about Malvern. But for now, let's get on with the live recording from the Malvern Houseplant Festival. Time to say hello to my guests. Now, I'll introduce myself first. My name is Jane Perrone, and I make a podcast called On the Ledge. It's an indoor gardening podcast. Hands up who doesn't know what a podcast is. Any non-podcast listeners here? Everyone, more or less everyone. It's just a radio show on your phone or your computer. And if you want to go and have a listen, if you're not sick of the sound of my voice, there are 290 plus episodes to listen to, all about indoor gardening. So if you've got a question about your houseplants, then you can find the answer there. But let's welcome today's guests. We've got the wonderful. You're already.
Am I on?
You're on.
You're not on. I'm on.
Okay. Hang on. Have we got you? Can you introduce yourself, please, Jonny?
Fantastic.
Hang on. We've got a slight. We'll introduce Ben while we're waiting. So this is Ben Newell of Worcester Terrariums. You're probably familiar with this chap. He's gone viral. He's got an amazing following. He creates incredible terrariums. And next to him, we have the Bearded Plantaholic, Jonny Balchandani. Would you like to introduce yourself, chaps?
Ben, take it away.
I feel like I'm really loud.
You are exceedingly loud.
Yeah.
We love you loud.
It's painful.
Okay.
Loud is good.
So I am a content creator. I was working as a postman up until just over a year ago. I've just had a book come out with DK called Hello Tiny World, which released on May the 2nd. I essentially make videos about terrariums and the interesting animals that you can put inside them. I've had some fun brand deals with Disney and Marvel and Paramount. And yeah, it certainly beats being a postman. Although I did enjoy that. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, I'll be asking you afterwards about how to make sure my parcels get delivered in good shape. But now let's move on to you, Jonny. you're a larger than life character in the world of houseplants. How can we sum you up? Tell us about you.
I believe I attempt to make some good content about houseplants in a very easy way to digest with comedy, as I think that comedy helps us to absorb and learn. So that's basically who I am, Jonny, and I'm a plantaholic.
Well, it's great to have you on the stage. I'm very honoured to be chatting to you today because these are two towering figures in the world of houseplants. So if you have houseplant questions, there will be a Q&A at the end. So I hope we'll have some time for that. But I want to dig in a little bit deeper into how you guys got into this wonderful hobby and what you're growing and how you're growing it. Now, on my show, I have a section called Meet the Listener, and I get people to answer 5 questions. And I'm going to get you guys to answer these 5 questions. Don't worry, this is not Mastermind. There's going to be no hard challenges. Right, you're going to be okay with this.
Be all right.
But the first question is, and this one to Jonny.
Okay, ready. Do I have a time frame?
No. I'm not. There's not going to be a buzzer or anything. You're okay, and I won't be judging you on your answer.
Between us to see who wins.
Maybe some points at the end. We'll see how it goes. When did you get into houseplants, and how did it all start? And why do you think you were attracted to this wonderful world of growing stuff?
Well, to be honest, I think not houseplants themselves, but by default, I grew up helping sometimes my mother out, who does look like my sister today. She's this red lady here in the front, who was specialised in outdoor plants, was very passionate, had a huge garden, and I'd go and be kind of forced in occasionally to helping out, which was enjoyable, but I didn't find the actual plants, geraniums or busy lizzies, very exciting at the time. The leaf structure didn't really flick my switch. And so over time, I thought, let me look at some other type of plants that look a bit cooler in my eyes. Obviously, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And then I slowly, probably about 15 years ago now, discovered aroids and indoor tropical plants and started growing my collection. So it stems probably from the mother. And then once I found my flavor for plants, I kind of went into the house plant, and it's been 15 years of just growing the collection into the jungle that it is today.
And it really is a jungle. I recommend, if you haven't looked at the Bearded Plantaholic social media, that you go and check it out, because there are some pretty impressive plants that you've got there. I know I have begonia envy for your beautiful cane begonia.
The
Who gave you that?
So there was this really ugly, very, very tall man, quite scary. I'd steer away from him if you ever see him, called Ben. He was a postman before, and he actually gave me the begonia when it was this big, because he just couldn't grow it. He was useless, and said, no, there was not enough space at the time. He didn't have enough space, and he was very kind to have spread some love like we do in the plant community. And he shared the plant with me. And then every time it appears in a video,
he never tags me.
I never tag him, and he's very sour about it because he wasn't able to grow it.
I get zero credit for that.
Zero credit because you didn't grow it. But no. He gave it to me. I do mention him. He's just sour. It's a little bit of jealousy, but we do love each other. He's actually a really good friend of mine, so I'm allowed to tease.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's true.
I mean, I think some people in the audience probably want to know your secret with that begonia maculata, because I've had at least one person at the Houseplant Query Desk today saying, how do you grow this plant? The leaves keep dropping off. Any top tips?
I mean, yes, to be fair. I mean, like all begonia, I suppose, not overwatering, but always keeping your soil moist is really, really key. If you do let it dry out too much, or if it's overwatered, those leaves are going to drop. Also, light. It does actually like, in my opinion, quite a lot of light. So some people don't give it enough light with some begonias, and they don't grow. Also, one key thing for me about plants in general, but also the maculata, is weirdly trimming it will actually encourage, like we spoke about briefly yesterday, more growth. So because they're cane begonias, they've got little canes that come out of the ground. Each time you snip a cane, that cane will produce at the very least 2 more shoots. Not only that, but it'll also stimulate more growth at the base.
How big's the pot that it's in?
The pot's not huge. Now, I'm not very good with measuring pots, but I'll give you a sort of approximate, very professional, something like this. So it's probably about this wide and this high. and I will never repot it again because it's just too big. However, I am going to give it a trim because over winter, there are some shoots that shoot out with no leaves on, but trimming it is actually the key to growing a thicker plant. Otherwise, you'll always end up with just one strand and you'll think, oh, why is it not happening? But if you trim it, more stems will actually grow from the base and also more shoots will grow off each stem.
I love the idea that pruning produces growth, which I think is a self-improvement message in itself.
Absolutely. A message that we can take away for life as well. Agreed. Absolutely.
Let's move on to you, Ben. You said that you were a postman. How did that transmute into you being a viral star of socials?
To be honest, can you hear me? Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear
okay,
you,
cool.
bro.
So to be honest, I was working 2 full-time jobs. I was working as a postman and also as a content creator. So I would finish at Royal Mail at like 2:00 or something, and then I'd go home, have a shower, maybe have a nap, and then just really crack on with making videos. And I did that for a long time, and I really wanted to leave Royal Mail to become a content creator. But it took a long time. There was a large portion of that where I just wasn't making any money. But I just kept going. I kept making videos. I think at my peak I was putting out at least a video a day, and I don't nearly do that now, and I work full time as a content creator. So yeah, it took a long time, but it was absolutely worth it.
Next question coming up. What is the latest addition to your houseplant collection? What is the latest thing that has caught your eye? Maybe at this very show that you're growing for the first time, or maybe trying again after failing, which is also the case.
Oh, I don't fail. Don't look at me. No, I'm joking. I do. I'm just joking.
Everybody kills plants, Jonny.
Absolutely, me included. Just less than everyone else.
So it's I don't really buy plants that often because a lot of the time I'm just taking cuttings from other terrariums. But the tiny orchid Speculinia Dressleri.
Okay, let's have that again. Let's have that name again because that sounds like a good one.
Speculinia Dressleri. I think I'm saying that right.
I'm going to be Googling that after. I don't know about anyone else.
You've not seen it?
No.
It's a beautiful orchid. It's mounted on some tree fern in a 10 pounds Amazon cloche. And it's honestly, the leaves are so tiny. Probably going to have a problem when it flowers because it's not got that much space. But it's growing epiphytically on this tree fern, and it's just a stunning plant. It's not cheap. It's about £30 for a small piece.
Let's just get into epiphytes for a minute. What is an epiphyte, and why are these plants so common in the indoor growing world?
So an epiphyte is essentially a plant that grows on another surface, usually a tree. So your Balanopsis orchids are epiphytes. Lots of different kinds of orchids are epiphytes. I think, especially in the terrarium world, because you have that increased humidity, there are so many amazing epiphytic plants that we can use, and some of them are really, really easy to grow. There's that Begonia Dodsonii. Have you seen that? A really beautiful plant. Again, quite hard to find, but once you have it, it just grows so quickly, so fast, and you'll have it forever once you've got it.
Over to you, Jonny. What have you been buying recently, or swapping?
Well,
I'm
allowed. Waiting to have a little mooch around today after this talk, so I'll have a look here. But the last thing that I got myself that was new for me and very exciting was something called a mint Monstera delicioso. So it's the Monstera, but a mint variegation. So it's not like the Albo, not like the Thai constellation. It is, like it states, minty. So it looks very white, but all of the veins on the leaves are green. So not like the Albo, where you've got too much white that it can brown off because there's no chlorophyll. With this, the veins actually have the green in, which helps sustain that white mintiness to it.
How much is one of those plants?
That's what I wanted to know. That was my first question.
So did my mother. I paid £450 for one leaf cutting, which is now a slightly bigger plant. That was a few months ago. In between, I've seen that there are some online sellers now that sell a smaller baby version of it for around £250, which is rooted. So they are still quite expensive, but beautiful specimens nevertheless.
Can I just give a shout out for the plain green Monstera Deliciosa here? If you're thinking, this man's just spent hundreds of pounds on a plant, then really what I would say is the plain green one's pretty much just as beautiful, and you can enjoy it and pick it up for a lot less money.
Like I said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
I'm not anti-variegation, but I just think sometimes we need to appreciate the plain green too.
I think the plain green was my first plant ever in my collection and is absolutely stunning. But also I feel depends on where you are on your plant journey. But if, like me, you've already had the plain green for a long time and you love it and like it, you're not particularly going to buy another plain green one. So that's why I like to have a collection, and ideally with my Monstera to have one off, if I can, each different type, because I am a collector. I like to have all of them, whatever that plant may be. So it kind of makes me happy today that I've got each Pokemon out there.
I was just going to say, is this houseplant Pokemon going on here? You've got to catch them all.
Absolutely. You've got to go up. That's why I'm the plantaholic, because I cannot stop myself from, once I get into that sort of wantingness of a certain plant, I want them all.
Do you still have that first plant, that first Monstera?
I've still got the first Monstera that I've ever had, and I love it to pieces. It is the Monstera genus, full stop. They're incredible, whether it be a Deliciosa or another one. They're amazing.
Now, you've got a lot of room for plants, but you must have to do something with these plants, which do get meters tall.
Absolutely.
What's your tips for people whose Swiss cheese plants, Monstera, have reached the ceiling?
So firstly, it depends kind of what type of feel you want to go for in your home. So if you do like a jungle feel and you like things to take over and have a more biophilic kind of lifestyle and relationship with it, then I'd say if you're not bothered about the leaves getting bigger and bigger, then you could weave it onto your ceiling. So my Begonia maculata, the ceiling, is too small. So I carefully bend the stems and attach them to my ceiling so they grow over the top, I nearly knocked you out there, Ben. Would have been good, actually. So you can bend them. If you do like jungle is massive, don't have to cut it. But if it is getting to the point where you do need the space and you can't do anything, then propagate it. We had a talk yesterday about propagating. We can talk afterwards. I don't want to monopolize this bit, but propagating is a great way to multiply to your collection or to swap for something else. Do you know what I mean? You can swap for a different Monstera. Or sell them. I have open days as well at home. So, for example, next month on the 23rd, I have an open day. I open up my jungle, open up my house. People come over. We swap. We sell cuttings and plants. We have a good time. We listen to some reggae music. So that's something that we can do as well.
Great. Why have I not been invited to this before? Let's move on to the next question. And this is a simple one. Complete the sentence. I love my houseplants because... Ben.
I love my houseplants because they give me so much joy. And to be honest, I don't have that many houseplants. Just to clarify, all of my plants are in terrariums pretty much.
Except
they're houseplants.
They're houseplants. Yeah, they're in the house.
Except for that thrip-ridden ficus I was telling you about earlier, which I've had clearance to get rid of from you. Yeah,
so we've been talking about a thrips-infested rubber plant owned by Ben, and I have given him permission to get rid of this plant because it's gone too far. So, I'm afraid Ben's girlfriend might be after me after this, but we'll see how that goes. Jonny, your answer to this question. I love my houseplants because...
I love my houseplants because I can grow them bigger than the people that gave them to me and it irritates them.
It's a great answer.
I love my houseplants because, it's kind of similar, but I just feel good being immersed in what I feel is like a jungle. I just feel better than looking at walls. I just feel better looking at greenery. And it also, for me, I do feel stimulates creativity. So whether that be on a day-to-day basis on social media or even for my day job, I do feel like being in that place gives me that extra boost of creativity rather than being just in an office block looking at a wall and a computer. So it stimulates me.
And that is a wonderful thing. Let's talk next about the fourth question. Who is your houseplant hero?
Ben.
Who's your houseplant? Okay, you can't say each other. That's going to be a really boring answer.
Definitely not that lady over there.
My houseplant hero.
It could be somebody famous or somebody local to you.
You can tell them it's me. It's okay.
You are my houseplant hero.
Thank you.
I find that a difficult question to answer because I'm often asked, who do I look up to in horticulture? And there are a lot of people who I look up to, but specifically with houseplants, I don't really know. Sarah has been a big influence on me. So yes, Sarah obviously has been a big influence on me, and Jonny has. I couldn't pick one person in particular. So yeah, I'm going to go with that answer.
I'm going to accept that. It's not quite what I was hoping for in terms of clearness, clarity of purpose, but I'm going to accept it. Jonny, I'm hoping you can bring us a very simple answer.
Very simple answer. It's plants, not specifically house plants, but my mum.
Oh,
my mum, definitely my mum. She's been awesome, inspiration, and the greenest fingers. I know we say it doesn't exist, but there's stuff that I kill that she can propagate. So it's, unbelievable.
Now we're moving on to the darker side of things. I need to know the last question. Name your plantagonist, the plant you simply can't get along with. Is there a plant, we all have this, a plant that you know how it's meant to grow, you know the theory, but it just hates you.
Calatheas. Can't stand them. And I'm slowly going off alocasia as well.
What is it that calatheas do to you that's so heinous?
Calatheas, I just feel like they look beautiful. You bring them home. Sometimes they'll do all right for a while, but at the end, they just, for me, go crispy. And, they like humidity, they like this, they like that. I can try all of that, but they still die. So I don't actually own, apart from a Maranta, got a variegated lemon and lime, which does okay, but pure calatheas, I just can't grow them. The albifolia specifically is just a no-go.
This is going to be reassuring for a lot of members of the audience who are going, okay, Jonny can't grow calatheas, so I'm feeling a lot better about myself now because this is a plant that lots of people struggle with. Ben?
To be honest, again, don't have that many houseplants, but I grow a lot of moss. And the one moss, which I really like the look of when it arrives in its little pot, is Christmas moss, Vesicularia montagni. It looks so nice when I get it in the pot, but whenever I try and grow it in a terrarium, just doesn't seem to work for me. So, yeah.
No way.
It's a type of moss.
I didn't know you had any default at all. I thought, you know what I mean? I'm quite happy about this.
It's good to know that everybody has their Achilles heel.
Yeah. Maybe, do you know, like Ficus thunbergii too? Sometimes it either really works for me or just totally flops. So Vesicularia montagni and Oakley fig, those two.
So I don't have any idea what you talk about when you speak about this Latin stuff. Is it a creeping ficus?
Yeah, I gave you some.
No, I know, just making sure, because I get scared when I hear all of these Latin names. I get confused. My small mind can't compute it.
Well, Ben and I will give you a masterclass in scientific Latin after this.
You're going to be quizzed on this in a minute.
What? Yeah, on the Latin name.
We were going to do some quizzing, but unfortunately we can't get these up on the screen. Maybe we'll just give this a quick go before we have some questions. I wanted to get these up on the screen for you to look at as well, but unfortunately, for technical reasons, that's not possible. So we'll just have it up on my phone, and I'm going to start you off with an easy one.
Oh, no.
Okay, this is for Jonny. I mean, Ben's going to be fine on this. Jonny, can you say this name, the one at the top there?
Begonia Darth Vader.
Nearly.
Darth Vaderina.
Okay, Ben, would you like to offer up a pronunciation of this plant?
Begonia Darth.
It's too long.
Vaderiana.
Begonia Darth Vaderiana. Now, what I should say about scientific Latin before we go any further, and you think that we're getting rather prescriptive about this, is scientific names, try not to be scared of them, because if you go to other countries and you talk to planty people, you find that everyone pronounces them differently anyway. There is no canon. There's no particular way of saying these names. So we're just having a bit of fun here, seeing how we can stumble over some of these names. But actually, as long as you are getting out all the syllables, it doesn't matter where you put the stress, because I say monstera, they say monstera. So it's all good as long as you're understood. But we're going to try a couple more just for a bit of fun here.
You can go first.
Okay. I'll take this one.
Let's try This is a cactus. I should say about the begonia, Darth Vaderiana. It was named after Darth Vader. It's a very dark black begonia.
That was a win then, wasn't it?
Yes,
I don't know about that.
Do Google it. It's amazing. Right, we're going on with this cactus now. Let's try this one.
Are you joking? Look at that.
That's easy. Go on. You got the easy one.
Weberboros Johnsonii.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. That's
well
I
done,
would say
Ben.
that's a very, very.
Do they get harder than that?
Because that was easy.
Okay, we're going to go for one more for each of you, and I'm going to give
you would have got.
I'm going to give you another one as well. I hope
me another one.
Yeah, definitely.
Second one. This is my favourite genus, so I'm hoping you're going to get this right.
I heard you say this yesterday.
Yeah, he's had a bit.
No, and I've since forgotten how you pronounced it.
Okay.
Wow. Asianthus asclepioides.
Escinanthus. I mean, it starts with an A. You're going to be doomed to failure from the start. Escinanthus, member of the Gesneriad family.
I knew that one.
A really nice houseplant. Quite hard to say. Maybe that's why it's not more popular.
That one's yours.
And now, Jonny, we've got the final one for you.
Well, I don't know if the RHS will let me say that one. Because I've seen the first three letters.
Yeah, it's 3 words. It's the scientific name of a cactus that's called the boob cactus. I did check with Sarah that I was allowed to say that word on stage. Apparently it's okay. So if you're offended, go and see Sarah. Right. Okay. The Latin, though, is
that one there.
Pretty special. It's the really long one, Jonny.
Fantastic. So I'm going to just do the first hard bit and I'll leave you the...
No, I did 2 in a row. This was yours.
Right. Myrtillocactus, Geomentrizans,
Doing well.
CV. You told me that I had to be PC, and you've given me this one. All right, I'm going to say this in front of everybody. No, I'm just making sure. You don't know what's written here. All right. Fukaroki Bozo. She's I didn't do this. If this is filmed by the RHS, Jane Perrone wrote these.
Fukuro Kuri using Boku. But I don't know if that's right either.
You're not going to be invited back here.
No, it's the last time I'll be doing this.
Names are tricky,
Thanks,
but
Jane.
give it a go. Like these guys did very bravely without any preparation. So thank you for being brave with those names. Give it a go because everybody can learn something from scientific names. They're actually quite useful in telling you something about the plant and a common language around the world for understanding plants. So they are actually quite useful. Don't be afraid to get things wrong. That is how we learn. And on that note, I'm now going to ask for some questions from the audience. And Sarah is the lady with the mic, ready to rove around for any raised hands. So where shall we start?
It's interesting.
Question about a houseplant or insults for Jonny?
I'll reply back the booby cactus. Careful.
So I've got an African violet that grows in my kitchen windowsill. It's very nice, doing really well in flower. So I decided to take some leaf cuttings off it and thought which way is the best way to do it. And one way was saying just stick it in a pot, and the other way was saying put it in water until it roots. So I did both ways. And I just want to know, when will it actually grow something? Because the one that had the roots on it, I put it back in the kitchen windowsill with what its mother plant is, but nothing is happening. And the other two was a bit of an experiment. The ones that I just took off and took the leaves and put it straight into soil, I put them in my greenhouse. But I just want to know, when will it actually start getting leaves on it?
It's strange, isn't it? Because we taught Sarah how to do this.
I know, yeah.
Weirdly, can I just interrupt here? Because I know you're asking us, and I'll give this a bash, and so will Ben most probably. But weirdly, I don't own one, but I learned how to do it through Sarah's video.
Yeah.
So it's weird. She should really be here with us. But all I've seen her doing is cut the leaf off, put it in water in a nice, bright, warm place, and wait. As I don't have one and I've never tried it, I don't actually know how long it will take, but I'm estimating between a month and a half, probably.
So sometimes with African violets, I think it is a bit of a waiting game. And the thing to know with propagation, I'm going to get a bit technical here. Is that all right, guys?
Oh yeah, go for it.
So I've noticed if you propagate plants that some plants will start to grow from a little section of leaf, like maybe a money plant, a crassula, or an African violet will grow even from a section of leaf. Whereas some plants like the fiddle leaf fig, Ficus lyrata, you have to have a section of stem. And I don't know if you've ever wondered why that is, but it's to do with something called meristematic material. It's just a fancy word for cells that can turn into other types of cells. And plants like the African violet, they've got that material all throughout the leaf. So you can take a piece of African violet leaf and propagate it, but it can be really slow. I've got 3 leaves right now sitting in soil, and I'm like, I know they're not dead. It's probably putting on lots of root growth. And then when it's ready, it will start growing plant material, because it's always worth remembering that the growth above ground and below ground have to kind of be balanced out. So the plant's putting on lots of root growth. You're doing it all right by the sound of it. You just have to have a little bit of patience, I think.
Also, I'd just like to add that if the leaf isn't dying off, then it's doing something. So even though you can't see roots, as long as the leaf is still alive, I think it's going to be doing something.
How long has it been? How long has it been that you've... A month? Give it some time.
Yeah,
the maculata takes 2 months. Yeah, absolutely.
That's okay for it to go floppy, as long as it's not kind of withering away. Mine's gone a bit floppy too.
Okay, any more questions from the floor? We've got some hands up in the front here, Sarah.
So this is for Jonny.
Yes, sir.
Which is your favourite indoor palm and why?
Indoor palm.
Indoor palm.
So weirdly, I love palms, but the one that's my favourite is not only for its physical attributes. So my son is called Phoenix, and when he was born, I was given a Phoenix palm, and it's grown quite big compared to when I got it. So by default, that is my favourite palm, but it looks beautiful, don't get me wrong. There are other palms that look slightly more fancy, like that rounded, fanned, ornamental one. I think they're stunning. Yeah. But by default, it's the Phoenix palm for me. It's hardy. It looks cool. When it's mature, it's insane. But also, it's got the same name as my kid.
Thank you.
No worries, buddy.
Any more hands? Yes.
Oh no.
Question for Jonny.
Yes.
Is it possible to hybridize philodendron at home?
To hybridize one? Yes, it is. It's quite tricky, I find. So I'm only just weirdly getting into pollinizing anthuriums, which I find actually is a bit easier to do because the entire inflorescence or the flower, that's a long word. See, I do know a few long words. The inflorescence, calm down, Mum. The flower itself. But with philodendrons, I don't know if you realize, but they're actually closed and they only open for a certain amount of time. And I'm normally in bed. So I haven't tried, but yes, it is definitely possible. I've seen people doing it. And notably, an American firm that I, not paid to talk about, but NSE Tropicals have hybridized quite a few really cool philodendrons.
Does that mean you can only do it at night?
You know what? I'm not adept enough in this to be able to say that. So the anthuriums, you can do it whenever, and they actually have a female and male stage. And to talk about the technical side, Jane, I'm sure, knows a lot about this.
Well, I mean, I don't, but I do know the reasons why they open up. So
there we go.
With aroids, they have this what's called the spathe and spadic structure. So the spiky bit and the sort of the cloak that's around it, and a lot of these aroids are pollinated by beetles, so the plant allows the beetle in when the flowers are ready to be pollinated, and then closes up the spathe, so the beetles are trapped inside.
No way.
They have some fun. Just going to leave it at that. And then they pollinate, and then the spathe opens up again to allow them to go off with their pollination done.
That is cool.
So it's probably to do with that timing, and it varies from species to species. Yeah. So that will be why you've got to get up in the middle of the night.
Buy some beetles. Let them go and have some fun at night inside the cloak.
And for like one more.
Yeah, one more question.
Cool. Move away, please.
From the front there.
Hello.
Hi.
I kind of just wanted to say You're a lot taller in person. That kind of weirded me out.
Huge, gigantic.
Everyone says that.
Yes.
He's usually
I
sitting
don't
down
know.
in the videos, isn't he? You
Yeah.
don't know how tall
Yeah.
he is.
I kind of just started with all this, and I found that I've acquired a lot of items in this hobby, but I find things like sphagnum moss in my pillowcase, and I don't really know how to organize everything. Do you have any tips for that?
I can relate to that. I find sphagnum moss in my pillowcase too. To be honest, I'm not a very organized person. I find it, and it stresses me out because I like things to be tidy. I've bought boxes for everything, and I only really buy what I need. For someone who makes a lot of terrariums and vivariums, that is quite a lot. But yeah, with sphagnum moss, for example, I buy it dry, and it comes very compact when it's dry. So then I just break off a bit and use that as and when. But you've not been to my place since it's been
Not the
redone.
new one, no.
So yeah, I've got like IKEA boxes labeled with Akadama, Koya, and it's fairly cheap to do, and it keeps me sane. It needs to be like relatively tidy, but yeah, it doesn't last like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much to everyone who's come and listened today. And if you want to get a copy of Ben's book, he'll be signing copies at the table just behind afterwards. I've also got copies of my book if you want to have a copy of that. But thank you so much to Jonny and Ben for joining me today. It's been a blast.
Thanks for
And
having us. Thanks.
do feel free to, if you're a bit too shy to ask a question, come and find us afterwards.
Absolutely.
And also, if you're not sick of the sound of my voice, On the Ledge podcast, available on all good pod apps. Thank you so much. Thanks so much to Jonny and Ben, and to Sarah and Ian from Green Rooms Market for organising this fantastic event. I'm hoping they're going to be doing it again next year, and I'll be invited again because it was tremendous fun, as I hope you could hear. That's all for this week's show. I'll be back next Friday with another episode and an update on the On the Ledge sew along. Yes, my asparagus ferns have germinated. Yippee! So I'll see you then. Bye! The music you heard in this episode was Roll Jordan Roll by the Joy Drops, The Road We Used to Travel When We Were Kids by Kumiku, and Whistle by Benjamin Banger. All tracks are licensed under Creative Commons. Visit the show notes for details.